The Rams 2026 free agent class. Who should be re-signed? Who should the Rams let walk? Me and Mark, we'll talk about all those players on that giant list next on this update episode here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Rams Up Podcast Network. I'm Ian. That's Mark. And if you're on YouTube and enjoy our content, thanks for tuning in here. Like the video. Like all our videos you enjoy. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any other videos throughout the rest of this offseason, right? Free agency, possible trades, draft, uniforms, and everything else. And if you're on the audio-only, podcast-only side of things, of course, keep supporting us there. Share it all, everyone. Share the podcast, share the YouTube. We very much appreciate it. It helps other Rams fans see our content. And once again, thank you very much. But Mark, how are you doing, man? We're raining out here pretty good in LA.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of fun storms as long as you're inside. Take a peek outside once in a while. The wind's blowing. The showers are coming down at like a 30-degree angle, but it's kind of neat. But as long as you're indoors, it's fine, right?
Yeah, that's where I've been most of my day here, which is, stepped in a big puddle earlier, and that wasn't fun. Wet sock, that's not a good feeling. So if anyone else is, in the storm of Southern California right now, make sure you got your proper boots on. I thought I could get away with it, but nope, a good old puddle got me there. But oh well, that's how it goes sometimes. We'll take it. We're dealing with sunshine most days, right, Mark?
Yeah, we can't complain too much.
Yeah, we can't complain. And today, everyone, we're going to be talking about the Rams 2026 free agents. It's a big group. It's about 20 players who are unrestricted free agents and or restricted free agents and some exclusive rights free agents. We'll break all that down and what those classifications mean and which players fall under that classification, of course. But all right, look, it's selfishly on my end, we got to hear Mark's opinion. I want to hear Mark's opinion about some uniform update news. Since I dropped that video and podcast episode, whatever that was, a couple days ago, we've gotten some new info. Mark is a good man, staying off the internet and, avoiding the chaos of planet Earth and all the wildness. So he's been updated with the basics of what we covered a couple days ago, but there's some new stuff, and I want to hear his opinion. I know you want to hear his opinion, everyone. So before we get into the free and stuff, we'll just spend a couple minutes. We got to hear what Mark thinks on some of these goodies. And Mark, with the news here of, yes, the Rams are changing their secondary logo to a classic look. We also got an update from, shout out to Zach Cohen, FB. He's all the news he's been breaking the last 3-4 years about not just Rams uniform logo stuff, but pretty much any NFL team changing their look in any way, shape, or form. He's got inside knowledge from someone at Nike, someone at the NFL, someone at Rydell, or probably a combination of them all, where he gets his news. In case you're wondering, who the hell are you to figure all this out, Ian? No, we got our knowledge from Zach. But all right, Mark. Some new info came out. Not only is the secondary Ram PP head logo, as Eric Dickerson liked to call it, Rams are also changing their primary logo. How this got found out was he was hearing rumblings of that, and they're ditching all the gradient, Mark. So there was leaks of this plush ball, I guess, Pegasus Player Pal plush ball. Jesus, what a tongue twister that is. Was on Fanatics, and they had the new Titans logo because they're rebranding completely this year. That leaked. This new LA primary logo where it's no gradient leaked, and then within minutes or within the hour, they got yanked from the Fanatics site, and only the teams that are rebranding aren't on there, which is Rams, Titans, and I think one more team I'm blanking on. Every other team that's staying with their current uniforms is up there to buy. But your thoughts, man, on the gradient being abandoned, and if you're here on YouTube, you can have a better look at what I'm talking about. The primary logo, which is on your hat, by the way, too.
Right.
Abandoning that to an all yellow, like LA primary horn logo, and then
Yeah, I got this
abandoning
hat too.
that one too. Yeah. So we got to upgrade your gear, man. It's going to be
Oh
time
yeah.
in a month or two.
I have
They're
to go back to
abandoning
this
that.
one.
I know
Sorry,
the
I'm
St.
getting
Louis
you off
one's
track
coming
here.
too. I know. It's just every couple years we just got to get new stuff. I know. So your opinion on that likely being the case with the leaks, and then also the news of the Rams abandoning the modern Ram head logo and using a throwback logo as their secondary look as well. That hasn't been confirmed of what that's going to look like. There hasn't been a leak of that yet, but again, everyone, we got the leak of this non-gradient LA logo, which is going to be the case most likely, and then the rumor / confident statement from Zach that the throwback logo is coming in. I mean, do you care about that? Does that make you happy like me?
Well, let's start with the top one. I
Yeah.
guess I like it a little bit more. I never had a big issue with the gradient, but the solid yellow, yeah, I kind of like it. I don't. It's a very minor change, really. It's just the coloring, right? You're going for the solid yellow instead of the gradient. Now, on the bottom there, let's first I'll say the one on the right, the bottom right, the old school. I don't know when that originated. I mean, are we talking 50s?
Yep.
It's
50s.
been a while. Yeah, and I've always liked it. I've always really liked it. I think it's pretty cool looking. Whereas the one on the left, I'm no, well, actually, I like to characterize. I tell people that I'm a wildlife weenie, and the one that it almost strikes me as like a goat instead of a ram. I've always felt that way, but I never had a big problem with it either. I kind of roll over this stuff pretty quickly, uniforms and logos, but I think I do like the solid yellow a little bit more, and I do like the old school. I'm surprised they're doing that. It's kind of reversing what they've been talking about, what they've been preaching for a while, right? Trying to leave their past in the past, and now they go back 70 years. But I'm okay with it,
Yeah, I just think if I had to make an educated guess on what their plan is and why they're doing all this in general, I have to make the assumption just based on kind of my own way of thinking about Rams gear and buying Rams gear. I mean, look at Mark. I truthfully avoid getting a lot of the new stuff because I'm not a fan of the LA primary logo or even the modern Ram head that they're now abandoning, which is cool. I would rather get all old school. Like the hat I'm wearing is the old font back in the day they would use, right? This
Right.
is not a hat that is sold by the Rams. This is another company that, again, I'm not going to burn anybody out here, but you can find it, right? So nobody
Yeah.
gets in trouble. And I have a lot of throwback gear. I mean, the jerseys I wear, other than that Nakua one, and I do have an Aaron Donald from the Super Bowl, just because I felt like I needed to get it just to have. It's an iconic moment in Rams history. I don't have any of the new stuff. So I think Rams sales in merchandise, hats, t-shirts, gear, jersey sales is probably near the bottom of the NFL, if I had to guess. With them saying, hey, let's get rid of the Pop Warner youth football looking aspects. We still want to keep, obviously, this modern look because the other rumor back months ago that we covered, which is probably going to end up being true, that they're taking the rivalry's jersey template, right? Not the colors, not the gradient. Just if you're just doing black and white and the shapes, that's going to be the main look for the new jerseys, right? Which it would be, if you're on YouTube, you can see, right? A modern blue, a modern white, and a modern yellow, if I had to guess, but in the shape of the rivalry's template, which would be a full shoulder horn, no gradient number, no name tag patch, and the helmet, and I assume the pants and everything else will stay the same, which I'm fine with. That is what's going to happen most likely. But that news mark of the Rams head from the old school days, 50s to 80s/90s, I think they're going to do a throwback fearsome foursome. I think they're going to do it.
Oh man, I love that uniform.
Because that, yeah, me too. Because I think if they roll with, right, a modern blue, a modern white, and a modern yellow, what would be a uniform that would not clash with those? Because look at the NFL and the Rams would like everyone to buy those new jerseys. So I don't think they're going to do a classic Eric Dickerson blue and yellow or, from that 30-year span, 70s, 80s, 90s. I don't think they're going to do that because everyone would rather buy that than the new jersey. What would be something different enough where there would be a differentiating? And I think the 60s all white, right? If you're not on YouTube here, it's the white horns, right? Roman Gabriel MVP season, fearsome foursome era. I think that's what's going to happen because what are we? The 90th anniversary of this team coming up this season. It'll also be, and if they do a yellow 1951 championship throwback uniform, I would be on board with that, right, Mark? If they did this, that would be the 75th anniversary of that team coming up this season. I think we're getting a throwback uniform. I think it's going to be the 60s white, if I had to guess, maybe 50s yellow, but I think that's what's going to go down, and I'm on board with any of those. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite photos, and I have some here in my man cave, is, just Google Merlin Olsen and Deacon Jones, 1968, 1969. And
Yeah.
those guys, that you've seen those photos of the fearsome foursome with their helmets all lined up on the line of scrimmage. It's just so classic. Best uniforms in the history of the league, as far as I'm concerned. Very simple, but hey, they're the fearsome foursome, and they look ferocious with those helmets, man. I just loved it.
Yeah. So, hey, fingers crossed, everyone. We get our two LA MVP quarterbacks wearing the same uniform in their career. That would be awesome. And if I had to guess, I think we're getting that plus a modern blue, a modern white, modern yellow. So I'm glad that you approve of all this, Mark. And we'll find out soon, right? I think we'll know the modern jerseys within the next few months, definitely before the draft. And according to Zach, by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier, he's getting word that other alternate uniform is going to be dropped in the summer. So I think that would be, hey, everyone, buy the new stuff, and then in July training camp, then it's, oh, by the way, here's the 60s throwback, and everyone can get excited by that and then buy more of that, right? I think there's a strategic plan that will happen, and he's saying he's hearing that that's when the possible throwback, possible other alternate uniform will get dropped, which would probably be like July, around that time, training camp starting to ramp up and all that. So we'll see what happens, everyone. We'll find out very soon about the new stuff and if there is any cool throwbacks that get released then. But selfishly, again, just want to hear from Mark on his thoughts, and I know you guys did too. It's an important topic in our fan base, right? We want to look good. We want our team to look badass, and we want to buy gear that looks good too. Let's be real about it. So it's all right. Mark will get a new hat. I'll fund him to get a new hat when that time comes.
Yeah, I got some other older school ones there, but yeah, I'll probably have to lose these. So these will become my throwback hats.
It's all right, man. They're the Super Bowl 56 memorabilia. Just think of it that way. But all right, everyone, enough of all that. How about some 2026 free agents? And with the list here, it's quite a list, everyone. Let's pull it up. We have about 20 players on this. And this is, shout out to Over the Cap, as I have a nice list. And if you're looking at this list here on YouTube, you can see the percentage of snaps they played on that side of the ball, their respective position, right? Offense, defense, and what age they are. So you can pause that, screenshot it, take a look yourselves, everyone. But we'll go through player by player. But I think it's important, Mark, that we go through this with, all the fans tuning in, everyone. It's that, okay, you see UFA, you see RFA, you see ERFA, and you're thinking, what the hell is that? But those are the free agent classifications. So what that is, everyone, is that when you see UFA and you're thinking, okay, I've heard that term, I really don't know what that means. Long story short, that player is free to sign with any team. They're unrestricted. There is no restrictions on where they could sign for how much, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd say, what, Mark, 90% of players fall under that classification?
Yeah. And I believe March 11th is the date that the free agent, unrestricted free agent frenzy will begin. Yeah, they're most of them are. We got a handful of RFAs and exclusive rights. But yeah, a vast majority are unrestricted.
Yeah, so there's that. Tons of players, tons of Rams players fall under that umbrella, which makes sense. So then you have the restricted free agent players, and this is clearly not as common, but there are a handful that every team has every year. And that is a player who has had 3 or less occurred seasons. And that means that they haven't had a full 4 years like a standard rookie contract, and they haven't hit veteran status after that 4 years. So, how that works is if you are a restricted free agent, the Rams can decide that by placing a draft pick value on that player. So, let's just say Mark is a restricted free agent for the Rams, and I am the GM. Thanks, Lesney. And I say, man, Mark's a baller. We're putting a first round grade on him or value, a tender. If Mark says, okay, hey, the Las Vegas Raiders are offering me a ton of money, I want to sign with them, me and the Rams can either say, okay, we are going to match that contract, and then he's going to come back with us, whatever that value, whatever that amount of dollars that is. Or we say, okay, Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders, you're going to have to give us that first round pick that we threw on him as a value. So that is the long story short. It doesn't have to be a first round pick. It can be first, second, third, fourth. And I believe that's where it's cut off, Mark. I don't think it goes any lower than that off the top of my head. I think maybe a fifth. I don't think it goes any lower. If I'm wrong on that, apologies. But that's how that goes. So a lot of times that's one way to keep a player around, because if you put a third round grade, a second round grade on a player, another team's like, yeah, we're not giving up that draft pick for that guy. And that's one way to keep a player. And then those contracts for restricted free agents aren't that much either, really. So that's one way. And there's some players that are like that for the Rams. Then we have an exclusive rights free agent, which is a player who has had 2 or less occurred seasons as a professional. A lot of times that's for undrafted players, guys who were in other leagues around the world or in the United States of America or whatnot. And they come in and they sign these short-term 1-year deals. This is another way they can keep players around. So what this is that, hey, the Rams, if they want to put that exclusive rights tag on you, they're going to offer you a 1-year minimum deal, which will probably be $1 million or less. And if you have no want or desire to play for the Rams, you're not playing that year. That's kind of crazy. So you're either going to sign this 1-year, minimum deal for $1 million or less, or you're not playing football in the NFL. That's how that works for the exclusive rights free agent. And again, this really only is tailored to undrafted guys and guys who have came from other leagues at different points in their career at a young age, right? Coming out of college, maybe XFL, whatever it is, UFL now, whatever else is out there. I can't even think right now. So those are the classifications, right, Mark?
Yeah, and when I look at free agency, it'll be for another day, not necessarily this team, but I don't even consider restricted free agents. So I'm thinking, hey, who should the Rams sign? Who should the Rams go after? Because it's a rarity at this point to get that to work. You also got to take into consideration who's going to get tagged as well. But the unrestricted is where the game is, and these are the guys that we got to be talking about when we look at who the Rams should sign.
Yep. And let's go through that list right now, everyone. I mean, it's kind of crazy that we already know the answer to one of them. And this answer came pretty soon, and we covered it here on this channel. As we have here, man, it still sucks to say, like, dang, he's really done playing football. Rob Havenstein, everyone. As we covered it, he was a free agent this season, dealt with injuries, ton throughout last year, and majority of this year. He's calling it a career, and we'll talk about another time how the cap ramifications of him retiring, dead money. We'll get into that in another episode. Today's just about free agents, but Rob Havenstein was a free agent, and he's retired, and good luck to him in the life after football, and I'm sure he'll be around the Rams facility, right, Mark?
Yeah, and we have at least two other offensive tackles here that are unrestricted free agents. So something to keep in mind. We'll talk about these two guys in a minute, but
Yeah.
yeah, I just dropped a short today. By the way, if you, in case you missed it, I revisited the greatest offensive lineman in Rams history, and you'll have to check that video out to see where Rob Havenstein fits in on that list.
Yep. Shout out to Rob. He's in that group for sure, easily, like we discussed last time. But all right, everyone. Tutu Atwell, unrestricted free agent, a player that me and Mark have said for years was underutilized and was probably the least utilized in his entire career on a $10 million price tag. My God, it still irritates me that all unfolded. And he's a free agent once again. Mark, I ask you, resign or let him walk? What's your decision on that?
Well, the fact now, are you asking me what I would do or what Sean McVay is going to do? Because
Well, let's hear both. What do you think?
yeah, well, the fact that he was inactive for the last two playoff games is very telling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, and his I think his price tag is going to be a lot less than 10 million. But the way I look at, I think Sean McVay, what they're probably going to do is they're going to let him walk. But if we get to June, July after the draft, and he's still hanging out there, maybe they bring him back if the draft hasn't gone the way they want as far as wide receivers go. But for now, in this first free agency flurry, I can't imagine the Rams are going to make him an offer at all. Maybe someone else will, and that'll be the end of Atwell's career as a Ram. But if he's still hanging out there in June, yeah, maybe bring him back.
Yeah, I think he's better than Xavier Smith. I think he's more talented than Jordan Whittington and Kanate Mumfield. And it's a damn shame that every time he's had to step in for injured starters a la Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua in years past, he's done well. And the amount of targets, the yards per catch, the production when he is targeted more than just a couple bombs, he's got the juice to be a starting caliber player. I think that's just objectively the truth, Rams fan or not. So whoever signs him, and I have a feeling it's going to be the damn Arizona Cardinals with Mike LaFleur over there. Let me just make that proclamation now. It feels like that's going to be the case. And then watch him do well. Again, if he gets hurt, he gets hurt. That's a different conversation. But he's not going to be back based on what the Rams have told us through their roster management. And would I want to re-sign him? I would. Obviously not at $10 million, but the Rams aren't going to do that. I would have been fine with, a cheaper deal, no doubt about it. But the Rams clearly don't view him as someone valuable enough to be on the game day playoff roster multiple weeks in a row, which is just incredible. So it's a damn shame. I don't expect the team to bring him back, and go look to Tutu. He deserves opportunity elsewhere, and I have gosh dang, he's going to go to the Cardinals, isn't he?
Yeah, we'll have to see. With that Tyreek Hill moving on from the Dolphins, maybe the Dolphins make a run at him. Man, I hope he doesn't end up in the NFC West. But if he's going to end up in the NFC West, Arizona would be my preference. But yeah, there was, I think it's not this past season, the season before, he led their team in yards per target, so he's got it. He just, I don't know if it's Matthew Stafford. I don't know if it's Sean McVay, but they just refuse to get him involved on a regular basis. And kind of the same deal with Jordan Whittington, we had high hopes for him as well. Kind of the same deal.
Yeah. Dumb waste of a draft pick. I don't think because of anything to do with Tutu himself. The Rams just didn't know how to utilize him, and it's just disappointing for sure. But we move on to another player who's an unrestricted free agent. This would be tight end Tyler Higbee, the greatest tight end in Rams history, in my opinion. And this photo here is him in the classic uniforms when he had one of the best, or the best, excuse me, receiving season for a Rams tight end in history. That was 2019, where he was, scoring touchdowns, having a lot of production at the end of the year, doing well. And I mean, Mark, your thoughts? Is the team going to re-sign him or let him go? And then what would you do if you were, a GM?
Well, I would bring him back at the right price. I see the market I'm seeing for him is going to be around 5 million. Maybe we get a home team discount, but you look at this tight end room. Davis Allen is okay if he's your number 3 or 4 tight end. Sean McVay actually making some comments about Terrence Ferguson, which surprised me. Of course, it's Sean McVay. He's a PR guy first and a coach second sometimes, but he loves the promise of Terrence Ferguson. You got Colby Parkinson. I don't think they're going to spend a high draft pick on a tight end. So what makes sense to bring in a veteran or keep a veteran guy in the room? I would hope he's not tight end number one at this point, and he's willing to not be tight end number one. But I say bring him back. At that in that $4 to $5 million a year price tag, 1 year contract maybe.
Yeah. So, okay, what are the Rams going to do? I mean, look, we don't even know what his status is of playing. Let's be honest about it, right?
That's
I mean, they
true.
kind of alluded like, hey, we're going to see what he wants to do with his future. Now, I think Tyler would still want to play. I know he finished the year on a low note. He was hurt, then came back, was the least played tight end in the group, right? Ferguson, Colby, Davis Allen got more playing time than he did in the playoff run, which is kind of insane to me, by the way. Like, he would be the fourth guy. So this is complicated. If we go with the Tutu Atwell thought, what are they doing with roster management and playing time management? I have a feeling they're probably going to let him go, let him walk if he decides to keep playing, which I don't see him being like Rob and calling it a career, but who knows? Could be the case. So I think that's probably what's going to happen. They're going to let him walk. Now, if I were running the Rams, I would try to convince Tyler to come back on a veteran, a respectably cheap deal, because you can't be running this 13 personnel and not have plenty full of capable blocking and receiving
Right.
tight ends. And
Yeah, that's a good
look,
point.
the way Tyler played, he's still a starting caliber tight end, in my opinion, but the Rams didn't play him like one, which is crazy. Another misutilization of a player, in my opinion, like Tutu, especially the end of the season so far. So we'll see what happens. Could he retire? Sure. But if I had to guess, probably not brought back based on all the signs of him and his playing time, injury history, et cetera, et cetera. I think Les Snead said, when Terrence Ferguson was drafted, like, hey, Tyler's hitting the twilight of his career, la, la, la. So they already had this thought in their head a year ago, right? And it'll be a shame to see him gone, but I think he will be, Mark.
Yeah, you could be right. I would prefer that he came back and just round out that tight end room for 1 more year. If he does retire, it's another hole we're going to have to fill. I don't know if Terrence, Colby, and Davis, we're going to need another tight end, someone that we can rely on and actually get some playing time. Nick Vanette, is he on this list? Is he on this list as
Yeah,
a
we'll
free
get to
agent?
him.
He's a free agent as well. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm kind of on the fence. I've always loved Tyler Higbee. I think
Yeah.
if he wants to come back, I would welcome him back. But you're right. Maybe the Rams, in their mind, have already moved on.
Yeah, it feels that way. And look at Tutu's 27, Tyler's 33. They're in the game of life. These are young men still, but in football years, teams start to view players, in a negative light when they hit that late 20s, early 30s, and beyond, which is kind of crazy to say out loud, but that's just the truth. So there you go, Tyler Higbee. We'll see what happens with him. The next player on this list who is an unrestricted free agent is Kamren Curl. Bam Bam Cam, you'll hear a nickname every once in a while. Shout out to his dad. He gets involved with Rams fans on Twitter in a positive way, which is cool to see. And sorry, Mr. Curl. I know I've used Cam with a C before by accident. Autocorrect, don't blame. I knew it's with a K, but sometimes, keyboards, sometimes the C pops in there. But strong safety Kamren Curl, unrestricted free agent. Mark, what do you think the Rams are going to do? Re-sign him, let him walk? And what would you do if you were running the show?
I want him back pretty badly. But the problem is, he came over on a very team-friendly deal, and he's proven his worth. He took advantage of it. If I'm not mistaken, He led all non-linebackers and tackles in the National Football League this season. He was a crucial part of this defense, a consistent performer. Really no complaints. The problem is how much it's going to cost to keep him. And there's that Caleb Downs thing. Rams want to trade up for him. Can Quentin Lake rotate back and play safety? The Rams take safeties in the fifth round that seem to play pretty well. So I want him back, not at $10 million a year, is what Spot Track is saying. Seems awfully high to me for a safety. So I don't think he's going to come back. I just don't think the Rams, but the Rams have tons of cash. They really do. And they can restructure and open up a bunch of more. If they really are going all in and they cannot make a move on Caleb Downs, I mean, there's some other good safeties in the draft too. For me, rambling about Cam Curl, you can tell I don't know. It's quite a dilemma. This is one of the more complicated situations for the Rams as far as free agency goes because there's so many moving parts in the secondary. It's going to be an overhaul, and man, it would be nice to keep one guy that's performed well, bring him back, one consistent piece of this defense along with Quentin Lake, but I don't know. I'd like them back, but I think it's just going to be out of their price range. But maybe they splurge. Maybe they splurge and bring him back.
Yeah, look, I would like to have Kamren Curl back as well. So, what do I think the Rams are going to do? I think they're going to offer him a contract now. Right now, I keep saying words twice in a row. Sorry, everyone, for whatever reason. The rain's scrambling my brain earlier. Stepping in puddles, it gets you. But I think that $4.5 million he was getting per year, they're probably going to try to offer that again to him. And then maybe if they negotiation, they'll bump it up maybe $1 million or $2 million, right, to 6 or 7, right, 5, 6 or 7. I think the $10 million a year, whether or not you believe he deserves it, there'll be plenty of other teams that would pay that to him, right? You don't think the Raiders, Titans, Jets, I mean, shoot, his old team, Washington, wouldn't be like, hey, come play defense for us, right? The Bengals, you don't think they would be okay? They wouldn't be okay with giving him 10 mil. I mean, shoot, guys, there's obviously plenty of other teams too, but those are just teams off the top of my head that have more cap space than the Rams right now. Rams, by the way, are what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 8th, 9th team with the most cap space going into this season. And again, that'll get eaten up by whoever is re-signed and the draft class and maybe trades. Of course. But I think Rams, if I had to guess, I think they are going to bring him back. I don't think it'll be for 10 million. And what I would do is I would be like, hey, man, you were playing for $4.5 million. How about 6.5? And then we'll see what goes from there, right? And of course, if him and his agents, where they have a say in this as well, clearly, no, we're 10 or nothing, 10 or more, then I think you have that hard conversation and being like, hey, we have a great history of finding John Johnson in round 7, Quinn Lake in round, 5, 6?
Yeah, Nick Scott.
Right. Nick Scott was a
Jordan
Super
Fuller.
Bowl fantastic safety. He was our backup and he played well, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But I would like to have Cam Curl back. I think he played well throughout the season. Hey, man-to-man's not his forte. Obviously, as a safety, that's not – unless you're Derwin James or other super freaks, we can't be thinking that's going to be his forte. So the Rams, look, you bring him back, don't make him play man-to-man like you did against Carolina in the playoff game. Like, what are we doing? He's better downhill, near the box, zone coverage. Stop it with that. Laying the boom, Bam Bam can like he did – a bunch this season. So we'll see what happens, right, Mark?
Yeah, and you got to remember this is his big payday. This is his last opportunity, perhaps, to get a big payday. And hey, and I hope he gets it. I just hope it's with the Rams.
I would like to see him back. Yeah, and hey, he said it's been a great a couple of years here with us. So we'll see what unfolds this upcoming year. We shall see. But another player that has, had some controversy, Jimmy Garoppolo, as he is an unrestricted free agent. And Mark, what would you do? And what do you think the Rams are going to do with him?
Well, I hope Paul Wally is not watching or listening, but I bring him back. I think He's a perfect fit for this team. Backing up Matthew Stafford, what a great gig for Jimmy G here in LA. Backing up Matthew Stafford for Sean and learning Sean McVay's offense. I think the train has left the station as far as him as a reclamation project moving on to another team because he hasn't had a chance to prove it. But I certainly hope Matthew Stafford remains healthy, but if he were to miss a couple of games, I'd feel very comfortable with Jimmy G coming off the bench and trying to get us a couple wins. So it's not going to be a big contract, probably be similar to what he had last year. Why not? What's the option here? Unless you think Stetson Bennett is ready to be the number 2 guy and you bring in another veteran or draft a 6th-round quarterback or something. But I say bring Jimmy G back.
All right. This is going to get interesting what's going to happen with Garoppolo for a lot of reasons. Number one that pops up in my brain, what are the Cardinals going to do with Kyler Murray now that LaFleur and them are running the show?
Because I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
If Mike LaFleur says, yeah, this contract, this cap situation with Murray is just outrageous, and I don't think he's going to be able to run my offense good and clean, which I don't know that for a fact, but I think it's 50-50 right now, right? Let's be honest. If they bail on Kyler Murray, I can see Jimmy Garoppolo getting a $10+ million contract for the Cardinals to go start and play games for them, which I think is also a 50-50 chance as of today. Because think about it. It'd be a quote-unquote bridge quarterback that'll give LaFleur a year to implement his offense with a quarterback who, let's be real, when LaFleur was calling plays in that 2024 finale against the Seahawks, Jimmy Garoppolo with other backup players on that offense were lighting up the Seattle defense who were playing all their starters, Yeah. And he looked good. And that was with LaFleur calling plays, by the way, which is crazy that LaFleur's couple times calling plays for this team, they've looked great. That game, the Arizona game where Blake Corum and Kamren ran all over them, right? Nakua and Stafford were done by halftime, it felt like, in that game. What was it, 530 yards? Mark, I think it was like the 4th best in the McVay era. Crazy. Right. So I think there's a real chance that he goes to Arizona and is one team away from playing for every NFC West team, right? Niners, Rams, potentially Cardinals, and then he'll just be missing the Seahawks. So would I want Garoppolo back? Yeah, but they're going to have to compete with that offer that I think Arizona is going to drop to him. Honestly, I really do. So we'll see. I would like him back, but truthfully, I don't think he's coming back. I think he's going to get a shot to start somewhere in this league again.
Yeah, I didn't even consider that possibility, and you might be onto something. And if that were the case, the Rams are going to have to find another backup. Maybe Stetson Bennett's ready. Maybe he's the guy. Only Sean McVay and a handful of guys in that clubhouse know, right? Yeah. We would never know. But hey, best of luck to Jimmy. He's I've always liked him. I like him a lot more than Paul Walia. I know. I still couldn't get over that 2-game suspension, and I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
But it would be a good situation in Arizona because they could draft their next quarterback in this upcoming draft and but let Jimmy G start for a year, something like that.
Yeah, it just feels like there's going to be a lot of former Rams that are going to end up in Arizona. And I think Garoppolo has again, depending on what they want and the deal with Kyler Murray and how LaFleur views him, we'll see. Yeah. But I think if that ends up flaming out with Kyler being gone, I think Garoppolo is going to be the guy there. I really, really do. But maybe they keep Jacoby. Who knows? There's a lot of possibilities. But if I had a gut feeling, I think he's not going to be back. But I would welcome him back. 35-year-old, older, veteran. I'm okay with that. But as we move on to another player here, left tackle DJ Humphries. He is a unrestricted free agent himself. All right, Mark, I'll be as polite as possible. What would you like to do with DJ Humphries, and what do you think the team is going to do with DJ Humphries?
Well, the Rams are playing with fire as far as their tackle situation. They got the 2 starters, and by the way, a lot of folks, non-Ram content creators, seem to think that Rob Havenstein was their starter up till the end there.
Yeah,
I think we're fine with our starters, but we have to have two tackles playing good football for this offense to function. And we have to have a backup or two that can swing and back up these guys as well. And we really don't have that. And DJ Humphries isn't the answer. So it's a problem to solve, but DJ Humphries is not the guy. My apologies to the Humphries family, but we just got to move on.
Yeah. What are the Rams going to do? They ain't bringing his ass back. Not for how poorly he performed against the Atlanta Falcons on Monday Night Football to, close out that season on a sour note. He was a big reason for that, wiping out first downs, wiping out touchdowns, single-handedly with holding calls, offsides, false starts, a bunch of nonsense. And it's a shame. He was a Pro Bowl player for Arizona. Maybe that's why he played so bad for us, right? Double agent here. And I'm kidding. But that, and then for him to get so much practice time, remember when Alaric Jackson was out with a second round of blood clots and he was filling in? I mean, damn, to practice that much, and I get it. It was many, many months later, but to just be that bad and not play well, right? He had a missed block on fourth down where Kyron got smacked in the backfield by his guy that he just whiffed on the block on. That other situation in that Atlanta game, and for him to just come in and play so poorly, I don't want him back. I don't think the Rams are going to bring him back, long story short.
Yeah, I think his days in LA are over, unfortunately. But we do have to address the backup tackle situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And, thank God Warren McClendon, he had struggles in his early days, played good this year. But, we're going to get a note boom situation out of him where, hey, when you're the full guy, can you stay healthy?
Right.
Can you play consistently good? I mean, that's just the truth. That's a worry. But I believe in him. He's played good football, and I think he will continue. And obviously, DJ is more of a left tackle guy. But we'll see. We'll see. Because, if Alaric gets another round of blood clots, I mean, what is that going to mean? A lot of negative, and he won't be around if that's the case. So we'll worry about that later. But DJ Humphries, we don't need you back. Sorry, dude. But how about another player that was acquired, a veteran, defensive back, cornerback, slot corner, nickel corner, whatever name you like to call it, Roger McCreary, right? The Rams trade for him, give up minimal draft capital, Mark, late round picks with, it wasn't anything premium second, third round where we could say, whoa, that's starting caliber material right there that you gave up, right? And Roger, 26 years old, unrestricted free agent. Mark, what do you think the Rams are going to do with him? And then what would you do with him?
Well, this is a tough one because we really didn't see enough of him. But, I know we're going to have a pretty big overhaul of the secondary. And I don't know if that's a good idea to replace everybody. I mean, we want Curl to come back. Cam Kinchins is coming back. Darius Williams, I believe, is still under contract, but that's not a solution. We got to have some level of consistency. What's the word I'm searching for? Continuity. And for that reason, I would say bring McCreary back at the right price. I think he's got a lot of potential. I think there's going to be a market for him, and that tells you something about how other teams feel about him. He may cost $5 or $6 million a year. But I don't think it's a reasonable solution to, sign a couple free agents, draft a couple of cornerbacks and hope it all works out. Remember, we're going to be opening up with the 49ers potentially. Our secondary has to be solid. I'm kind of all over the place once again on this answer, but I like the idea of bringing him back.
Yeah. What do I think the Rams are going to do? I think they're going to make him a contract offer. I don't know what exactly that's going to be. I assume it'll probably be around that $4 million, $5 million range if I had to take a guess. And look, we were on this channel, this podcast, Mark, for weeks. And with the minimal film that was out there on him, he played good for this team, in my opinion. So I would want him back for that reason, to your point of do we just come have a completely new room other than basically Emmanuel Forbes? Because to be honest, Darius Williams is getting cut with his cap number. Right. They're not keeping him around for that. Now, we'll talk about that in a different episode. But I think this should be a player that they bring back and see what happens. And again, for that cheaper veteran deal, not vet minimum, but around that $4 million, $5 million range, I'm on board with that. I am, based on what I saw on film from him, from us this year. So we'll see what happens. I do expect the Rams to make a contract offer, but who knows? Maybe McCreary's like, yeah, I didn't enjoy LA. I didn't enjoy this and that, and go somewhere else and gets more money. Can't hate on that. But I think the Rams will try to re-sign him. For how much? I think it'll be $4 or $5 million. Maybe more, maybe less, and we'll see what happens, right, Mark?
Yeah, I think he just seems like a guy that could be a nice piece to the puzzle in the secondary.
Yeah.
Bring in a free agent, draft a cornerback, draft a safety, bring back Curl. Could all kind of come together, and McCreary could be a part of that.
Yeah, I think so for sure. And we'll see what happens. We shall see with Roger McCreary. As we give a draft capital for him. So, I think there'll be an extra incentive to get him back in the building at the right price. But then how about we have here, everyone, David Quessenberry, as he was primarily our right tackle, and didn't have to see much of him, right? Warren McClendon saved the day, and Quessenberry didn't get much burn, which is ideal. You don't want your lineman having a rotating door of players that are having to step up. But Quessenberry, a man who is older, right? 36, another veteran player in this league. What are your thoughts, Mark? Rams bring him back, and what would you do?
Who the heck knows, right? What do we know about David Quessenberry? But I think he just fits into that category of, the Rams are going to get through free agency, they're going to get through the draft, and if they feel like they're still vulnerable, they still need a swing tackle, they still need a backup right tackle, they bring a David Quessenberry or a David Quessenberry clone onto the roster, over the summer. I don't think they're going to be in hard pursuit of David Quessenberry, but a player like him will end up on this roster one way or another.
Yeah, I think the Rams will not bring him back just based on the age, right? He's going to, 36, pushing 40-year-old player soon. I think that, again, we don't know how practice has been. We don't know how he is as a teammate in the classroom, the film room. We don't know these things. We're just going off of the facts we know: age, contract, performance. So with that, again, I think the Rams won't bring him back. Would I bring him back? No, I think you could find a younger player with more upside. But who knows? Linemen are hard to find. So would I be mad if he's back? No. Would I be shocked? Absolutely not either. So we shall see with him. But, if I were the Rams, I would do my best to find other players, younger, maybe more upside, like Warren McClendon later in a draft, like, an undrafted player. You find Alaric Jackson once upon a time, right? And take those chances, and we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, well, that'll sort itself out. I'm not going to be probably won't be a high draft pick on an offensive lineman, a tackle especially, but they're gonna draft an offensive tackle, I think, for sure in this draft.
Feels that way. For sure. Another controversial player, everyone, Ahkello Witherspoon. As man, the fan base is so split on him. It's very, very interesting. And before I share my thoughts and jump the gun, Mark, what your thoughts? What do you think the Rams are going to do? Do you think they bring him back? And what would you do?
Well, the injuries have been an issue, and talking about the fan base being split. There's been times where I thought he looked like fantastic, and then there's people on the YouTube channel that think he's the worst cornerback to ever suit up in an NFL game. So somewhere in between it lies the truth. But I don't, he's another guy that, like we've done with him in a couple of seasons, I think. Don't pursue him. If we haven't sorted things out and over the summer, maybe bring him back. It wouldn't excite me though at this point. I think we're ready. If we are going to overhaul this secondary, he's one guy that I think we could leave out of the equation and move on from him.
Yeah. What would I do, everyone? I would bring him back. I mean, he's been signing vet minimum deals every year since he's been with the Rams, which is kind of crazy. 23, 24. Obviously, this season didn't go well in 25. But when he was healthy, he played good football. He was awesome against Nico Collins in week 1. He was, unfortunately hurt in week 2 against Tennessee, broke the shoulder. missed majority of the year, came back, had a rough performance against the Panthers. And then I thought he played really well against Atlanta, right? Playing against Drake London and Kyle Pitts and being an outside guy. I thought he played really well. And then he had another game where he didn't look so good, right? Against the Cardinals and so forth. And then he gets hurt again. And if he's willing to do another vet minimum deal, I think the Rams will and should bring him back. And I would too, because we've seen him play elite football for this team. And again, it's a year by year basis. I mean, Darius Williams was an elite player for this defense, was a great, fantastic player for the Jaguars. And he's just an older player. You lose some extra gears in your speed. The tools in your toolbox are diminished as the athleticism starts to dip, et cetera, et cetera. And again, vet minimum deal like he has been doing, and I think other teams would be on board with that. He's going to have to decide. There's definitely an open spot here, and he knows if he was playing that it would be different. And I believe that too, by the way. If he was our main corner, the season would have went a lot better, I believe. But we're going to have competition with him, with Arizona trying to snag him. Let's be honest, right? The Cardinals and LaFleur be like, hey, we need corners. Let's get him in the building, and others will make offers as well. So complicated with him, but you watch the film, everybody, when he's fully healthy, he's one hell of a starting corner, in my opinion, and the film don't lie, and I would like to have him back for sure.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think this through. Do you see him as, I mean, if we were to sign one of these high profile cornerbacks and you see him being paired up with Akilo as the two primary boundary cornerbacks, it probably would be a pretty good situation.
I think it would too. And again, there's still a lot to unfold between now and then, trades, free agent signings, his status, and then that'll dictate a lot of what happened in the draft. But look at vet minimum deal for him. What was that? 1.2 million since he's played a lot. Are you kidding me? Yeah, bring him back
Yeah.
on that. I'm on board with that for sure. So we'll see what happens. All right, Mark. And hey, I think this is a pretty easy one. Long snapper Jake McQuaid and I forgot to mention Akello's age here. If I did, cool. If I forgot, I'll just name it again real quick. Akello's 31, so that'll play a factor. And then how about Jake McQuaid? He'd be pushing 40 soon. Speaking of his age, long snapper, former St. Louis Ram, brought back after the kicking operation was a mess the whole first half of the year. Fired a bunch of guys. Kicker got fired. Long snapper got fired. Special teams coordinator got fired. And Sean McVay said, hey, old friend, will we come back? And, did a decent job. So, I mean, Mark, what would you do? I mean, he'll be getting the vet minimum too, right? That 1.2 million or so. Would you do that? Do you think the Rams will do that? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, right now the special teams was one of the biggest issues on this team, and things seemed to kind of settle when he was here. So let's bring him back. Now, I would like to see some competition because paying a long snapper uh, any more than the vet minimum is not good for your salary cap. Maybe they bring in a rookie to compete, but yeah, let's bring Jake McQuaid back and just one less thing to worry about. And he's a guy that's been around with so many different teams. It's kind of odd that he hasn't stuck because he's been successful. I think he was a Pro Bowler at least once, and just kind of odd that he's still floating around. But yeah, let's bring him back.
Yeah, I would bring him back for that vet minimum, that 1.2. Stability, longtime Ram, one of the last St. Louis Rams players in the league, right? Which is kind of crazy too. So I think he'll be back. I think the Rams will want him back, but you never know. Maybe, Bubba Ventrone says, no, I got guys in mind that I want to snap that football. And they say, no, McQuaid's not in that equation, which is very, very possible. But if I run in the show and Bubba approves, then I'll bring him back for that vet minimum. Right.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So we'll see. Easy one with Jake McQuaid there. And then how about the fourth tight end, Nick Vanette, didn't see very much play time from him. He's older. He's been in the league for quite some time. He's 33 years old. I mean, Mark, what would you do? Bring him back, not bring him back? What do you think the Rams are going to do?
Yeah, I mean, keep him on the 90-man roster, sure. If he's willing to come back as our Uh, right now, he'd be our fourth or fifth tight end, possibly. Yeah, sure, why not? The Rams seem to keep guys like this around. They had Mark Redmond on the practice squad all year. Sure, there's no reason to move on from him. You need to keep that extra tight end around in the locker room. And Van Nett, Rams seem to like him. Sure, bring him back.
No, I feel you. Now, if I were the Rams, would I do that? No, I think to the point of the backup offensive lineman situation, can you find younger guys that have more talent? And I'm not saying Vanette doesn't have any talent or can't play. He's obviously been in the league quite some time. But for the vet minimum, right, you could say, well, then why not, right? But I just think let's get some other guys that maybe have more receiving ability in here, right? Because let's say Ferguson goes out, and shout out to Colby, had the best year of his life in the receiving part of it. But Davis Allen's had some drops, even though he's more of a receiving tight end that developed into a good blocker. I mean, you need guys that have that ability to fill in for a Terrence, for a Colby, for a Davis on his good days. I think save that money, spend it elsewhere, and let's get some young guys drafted in the building that have some catching ability. That's what I would do. And I think the Rams will do the same.
Yeah, and let's be honest, Sean McVay is probably going to draft another tight end.
Yeah,
Just he can't help himself.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, hey, if we're running 13,
right.
we need able guys, to my point. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that for sure. But there you go, Nick Van Nett. We'll see what happens with you. But I expect him to be back in the building next year in the offseason of some capacity, 90-man roster, like you're saying. We shall see. But another controversial, I chuckle here, another controversial player in this organization, inside linebacker Troy Reeder, is an unrestricted free agent. Right now, he's also getting a vet minimum deal. Got some playing time this year, a little bit filling in for when Omar Speights was banged up in that Baltimore game, him rotating in with Sean Dolag, was fine, like usual. Respect to Troy's Super Bowl contributions in the 2021 season when he played in 2020, had a great game against Washington, et cetera, et cetera. But, we're far removed from those days. And Mark, what would you do? Bring him back, and what do you think the Rams are going to do?
Well, I mean, he obviously has something on Chris Shula, right? So they're going to bring him back now. I'm really indifferent. He's a guy that a lot of teams have a guy like this on the roster that's a really intelligent player that he can come in and lead the defense if you need him to, contributes in special teams. He did have a couple big special teams plays this year. And veterans minimum, keep him around. But I really wish the Rams would invest in really athletic backup linebackers. But that doesn't, we've been hoping for that ever since they moved on from Ernest Jones, right? Or even before Ernest Jones. We had a guy like that in Ernest Jones, but so I'm kind of indifferent. If they want to bring him back at the vet minimum, sure, why not? But I guess I really don't care, is what I'm saying.
Oh, man. Look at everyone. Let's be honest about it. In the last vacation photos of Sean McVay, after this past season that just finished, the Staffords are in there, Higbee's in there, Jimmy Clausen, right, the former second pick for the Panthers, is in there. I guess they're all friends too. Other players, and then Troy Reeder and his wife were in that vacation.
Oh wow, I
photo.
didn't realize that.
No. Look, not hating on the guy. I think he's a backup. That's what he is. And he's started for us, had good moments, like I mentioned, had some very, very bad moments. He's more of a run-stopping guy. That's pretty much it. But based on the homie connection between him and Sean, obviously, based on Shula and the staff naming him a starter, right, once upon a time, where everyone was freaking out after Ernest Jones got traded, and I don't want to say I broke news, but I listened to all the comments. I was like, oh yeah, Troy Reeder's starting. And I had the fandom in a frenzy for about a couple of days. Sorry about that, but it ended up being true, right? He's going to be back. They're going to sign him for that vet minimum deal. Would I do it? No. I would say, hey, let Sean and Omar fight for the starting job, by the way, because I think Sean Dolak's got more upside than Omar. We've seen Omar be awful in coverage, have some bad moments. I don't think Sean would do that, but we'll see what happens. That's a separate conversation for another day. But right, Omar, you're a cheap starter. Sean Dolak, your quote unquote backup as of today. You just paid Nate Landman. And then let's draft another guy with more athleticism and more versatility to be that fourth guy if they roll a four. But we all know that's probably not going to happen. So would I bring Reeder back? No. But the Rams will do it for the vet minimum because they've been doing it for years, and he's apparently homies with everyone on the staff. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. It's like it's the writing's on the wall. He's probably going to end up on this roster, and if they can find a fourth or fifth linebacker to beat him out, so be it.
Yeah. And hey, 32 years old. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Troy Reeder, everyone's favorite Ram, apparently. But hey, how about another player that's been on this team for quite some time? Running back Ronnie Rivers, as he is an unrestricted free agent as well. He got some snaps, like we talked about, Mark. I mean, why was he in the most important plays of the Seattle NFC Championship game? My God. I mean, what went on with that? Sean and Ron Gould, running back coach. Anyway, we talked about it then. But hey, Ronnie can play. We all know that. Started games for this team. What would you do, Mark? Bring him back, and what do you think the team's going to do?
Well, I wish I had any bit of information on what Jarquez Hunter is bringing to the table for this team.
Yeah.
I have no idea. And but I've always liked Ronnie Rivers. When he comes in, it doesn't miss a beat. The offense functions pretty well while he's in there. He's a contributor on special teams, and not knowing, what they might do in the draft or how they feel about Jarquez Hunter, with the information I have, I say bring him back.
That's fair. I mean, what would I do, everyone? I mean, for another, 1.2 million or so vet minimum he would be getting. Would I bring him back on that number? Sure. I'll be down for that. But I think that's going to happen. It's 50-50. 50-50. To your point, what is up with Jarquez Hunter? Apparently, Sean and Les really wanted him. Obviously, he was a later draft pick, et cetera, et cetera. So if the development of Jarquez is going well, will Ronnie be back? Probably not. But if that's not working out, I do think they will say, hey, get you back on that vet minimum, Ronnie, and he'll be, I'm sure, more than happy to come back because he knows, he's getting playing time, obviously, to some degree. So would I do it? No, I would rather save that money and gamble on Jarquez Hunter with his ability and spend that money elsewhere, maybe even just draft another young running back that's got some talent. But I think Rams will offer him that veteran, and we'll see what happens if he accepts or not, right?
Yeah, this running back room is pretty solid. Blake and Kyron are fine. And what you really want is a guy that can come in if someone gets dinged up and can handle pass blocking, understands the offense, and Ronnie Rivers checks all those boxes. So that's why I lean towards bringing him back, because even if you roll with Jarquez, who knows what we have there, and they draft someone, there's just a bigger question mark in the running back room if you go that direction than as opposed to bringing Ronnie back.
Yeah. Again, we'll see what the heck happens with him, but I think he won't be back if Jarquez's development is going well, which we're going with that assumption. And another player, Mark, that's got controversy among the fan base, like if that's the correct word, Kobe Durant as a starting player for this team has had great moments, has had some poor moments. With Kobe here, Mark, finishing up his rookie contract, unrestricted free agent, played a ton. He's 28 years old. What would you do, and what do you think the team's going to do with him?
I've always been a big fan of his, and I know that he has limitations, but he also rises to the occasion, makes some he makes some big plays here and there. And I really don't know. I don't know how to answer this. This is a tough one. I don't know what type of a contract he's going to be demanding, if other teams are going to make a serious run at him. If he can come back on at a reasonable contract and with the understanding that he might not be a starter, he's going to be a depth guy, kind of play that Darius Williams role maybe, but it's got to be at the right price. But I guess my answer would be let's bring him back, but only at an extremely team friendly deal. That's how I feel about. I think he's. I think some other teams are going to show some interest in him, though.
Look, when you have big time interceptions being made in playoff games, that gets you paid, man. Let's just be real about it. There'll be teams that will want him. I mean, all the usual teams that have issues will offer him. Let's be real about it. What do I think the Rams are going to do? I think, man, I thought about this earlier. I'm thinking about it again now here with you all and Mark, obviously. I think his inability to play man-to-man coverage would hurt this team again, like it did this season. I would not bring him back, truthfully. But if he was vet minimum or around that price tag, which let's be real, I don't think he's going to accept that. He's going to want to make some serious cash, more than 4 or 5 million. I feel for him. We'll see. But I think the Rams will offer him something cheap. But do I think he'll take that and want to take that? I don't know. But would I bring him back? Vet minimum, I'm in on that. Let's be honest, around that $1-2 million range, to be honest with you. And if you say, hey, Ian, Rams brought him back for 4 or less, would I be mad about it? No, but guys, I just think he can't play man-to-man. He's not good at it. And this team got screwed by majority of these corners not being able to do it. They didn't blitz as much because when you blitz, you can do zone, but you can get chopped up a lot. If you blitz, you want to play some man-to-man, and they couldn't do it. They weren't good at it. If they ran man, it was half zone, and then the other side was half man, but that was very rare as well, and it hurt this defense. So I wouldn't bring him back unless it was super cheap, Mark, and I don't think he's going to be back anyway, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about overhauling this secondary and we want Cam Curl back, Quentin Lake's coming back, Emmanuel Forbes is still going to be on the roster. We want to bring back Akilla Witherspoon. Something's got to change. What was broken, what needs fixing. So if we're going to bring in a high-priced cornerback, which is what we're all thinking, I think, then it would make sense for Kobe to not be part of the answer anymore. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, our priorities, right, so far are Roger, McCreary, and Akello for the right prices. Right. So Kobe's the odd man out in this situation. But again, if those fall through and the Rams say, "Hey, we want Kobe back on a affordable deal," then would I be mad about it? No, but he's got the limitations. He makes plays, but he's just unreliable. And man, it's just the truth. And you can't win championships like that. And we just saw it unfold for 2 months. With that being the case.
Yeah, and the Rams are going to have the cash to go out and get the exact cornerbacks they want in free agency, and that's going to hurt guys like Kobe, hurt their case for coming back. The Rams just going to say, hey, we got our guys, we're good, sayonara.
So we'll see what happens with him, and we'll talk about potential targets for the Rams another day, as I got to watch film on guys and get a real idea, but. Another player who got a lot of hopes in the fan base, Mark. I mean, outside linebacker Keir Thomas, as he is a player who is a restricted free agent, right? So the Rams will put a draft round value on him, right? Round 1, round 2, round 3, 4, et cetera, et cetera. And if a team wants to sign him, then they got to give up that draft pick if the Rams don't match that contract that he's potentially going to sign with an opposing team. So with him, Mark, I mean, he didn't play at all this year. 28 years old. What do you think is going to happen? He's coming back? Rams keep him? Or what? What would you do?
Oh, sorry, I was having trouble coming off mute there. He's a bit of a dilemma for me. I'm not even clear on, what role he would play if he did get on the field. I don't really see him as a pure edge guy. Maybe I'm wrong on that. He's a restricted free agent, correct? So,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent if how's it going to work? We're going to put a put a draft value on him of what would you think? Maybe a fourth or fifth round pick or something. And
Yeah, it's going to be low,
yeah,
but I mean, we'll see what happens. I can see the Rams reversing that and yanking that, making him unrestricted. Again, I don't know how he is in the classroom, a teammate, the building, the film, all that stuff. I'm not sure. But what would I do, Mark? I wouldn't bring him back. And do I think the Rams are going to bring him back? 50-50, but I lean towards no. So we'll see.
yeah, it's when we're talking about a 90-man roster, when we're talking about that training camp roster, he's a guy you can bring back. He's probably there's going to be a big rush for his services, and if he's hanging out there, maybe you bring him back. But there's going to be. I'm hoping that they bring in a lot of undrafted rookies and address the depth on the outside linebacker position in the draft, late in the draft, and just be a good time to move on from Keir Thomas. And I think he's been hurt a lot of his career, not just this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean he's had issues. That's just the truth. He's had some issues for sure. But we'll see what happens with him. Again, I wouldn't bring him back. That's just the honest truth on that. But another outside linebacker, Mark, Nick Hampton. I know that's somebody you've been high on in the past and have had hopes for, I should say. Nick Hampton is 10% of the snaps he's played on defense. He's also a restricted free agent, so the Rams could put that, tender on him, placing a draft pick round value. And if a team wants to sign him, the Rams can match it or get that draft pick from that opposing team. What do you think the Rams are going to do? What would you do?
Well, I've always liked him. I'm not sure what the ramifications would be for tagging him or making the offer as the restricted free agent. But if it's at risk of playing him the veterans minimum, probably not. I think you can find guys in the draft that you can replace him fairly easily. I think with the role he's playing right now, so probably not. Josiah Stewart has looked really good for his rookie season. Went really well. So yeah, kind of indifferent as well, but I think I'd rather find a rookie rather than pay Nick Hampton the veterans minimum. I think that's kind of how you're rolling with a lot of these guys, right?
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, what do I think the Rams are going to do? I think they're not going to bring him back either. What would I do? I wouldn't bring him back. Kind of morphing him and Keir Thomas together in this. Look at so it's Byron and Jared Verse as the main guys, of course. Josiah Stewart was a premium draft pick who when he played, I thought he played well and was for his limited action, was a contributing player and was valuable. That's good. Desjuan Johnson being, converted from D tackle into that. He showed promise, and I thought, in a lot of his instances, looked good as well. So with that, again, Nick Hampton, and even going back to Keir Thomas, I don't think they're coming back because of that, and I wouldn't either.
Yeah, I forgot about Desjuan Johnson. He did play well, and so he's our fourth guy there. Yeah, find an undrafted rookie or late round pick. Have someone come in and fight for that 5 spot, I guess is what we call it.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens, but I don't think Rams are bringing any of them back. And hey, another controversial player for the Rams in the secondary. We have a lot of those, Mark. Geez Louise. Darion Kendrick, because I know this photo is from years past. I know Emmanuel Forbes is number one, but I couldn't find a good photo of Darion in a Rams uniform and his second stint with us after Seattle cut him, right? And they said he wasn't good enough for them there. I'm sure. I wonder how he feels about that. Now that they won a Super Bowl. My goodness. He unrestricted free agent, Mark, 26 years old. And if I could say Nick Hampton's age either, he was 26. Apologies on that. What would you do? I think we kind of know what the Rams are thinking here. Let me hear it.
Yeah, there's no point. It's really strange because remember before we got hurt a couple of years ago, the Rams, they were talking up his role. They said he's a guy that can play the star position. He's going to have a role, be a big part of this defense. Then he got hurt and never really came back from that. And I don't think there's any way the Rams put any emphasis on bringing Darion Kendrick back.
Yeah. What are the Rams going to do? Well, they've cut him already, right? So I don't think he's coming back. And would I bring him back? No. Apparently, a guy who had issues in Seattle blending into that culture. Wasn't good enough to be around the Rams culture and play well there, right? Has started for us, of course, in years past, up and down moments, had some good moments, had plenty of rough moments. And I think to the point of other guys, draft younger players with more talent and upside and see what happens. He had the bad moment against Seattle covering the punt against Rashid Shaheed where he just looked disinterested. And if you're these backup second or third string corners, you're going to have to play special teams and give a shit about it, right? And he was someone that didn't, apparently, and the film don't lie. So I don't want him back. I don't think the Rams are going to bring him back.
Yeah, I agree.
Simple as that, right, everyone? Shoot. But how about a SoCal native from the desert, Justin Dedich, as he's classified as a center, as you know, he was playing at USC with Caleb Williams when they were killing it on offense, and Caleb was winning Heisman's, and that team was really, really good on offense. Defense was a different story. If you're a USC fan, you know what I'm talking about. But I mean, Mark, what would you do with him? What do you think the Rams are going to do? And let me preface this before I move on here. I mean, Dedich is an exclusive rights free agent. He is only 26. And again, one more time for you, if you're thinking, okay, what does that mean again, Ian? The Rams will offer an exclusive rights free agent a 1-year vet minimum deal. He's not a veteran yet. The player is either going to sign that contract or he's sitting out of football for the year, right? Which is kind of drastic. That's how it is. So it's either Dedich is coming back or he's not playing football. If the Rams do tag him as an exclusive rights, they could take that off and make him an unrestricted free agent. But I don't think that's going to happen, truthfully, not to spoil my opinion yet. But Mark, I mean, what do you think the Rams are going to do and what would you do?
This is an easy one for me. Bring him back, slap that on him, give him the deal, bring him back. I feel like our interior offensive line, I feel really good about it, and depth-wise as well. And he's a big part of that. He's proven that he can play at the NFL level. He's not going to make any Pro Bowls, but he's a decent player. And we cannot afford to be plugging holes along the offensive line when guys go down, and having guys like DJ Humphreys and man, I can't remember all those guys that we tried to plug in the 2022 season, and most of them did not work out. Justin Dedich, keep him in a Ram uniform, and problem solved. You got 5 offensive linemen, interior offensive linemen, the 5th one being Bo Limmer, which not sure how good he is. The Rams seem to be a little unsettled on him. But bringing Justin Dedich back, man, you got to.
Yeah, look, for the unrestricted tag, 1-year deal, minimum's going to be about what, $1 million maybe. No brainer.
Yeah.
He had a rough game against the Eagles, but I mean, who doesn't against Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, right? I mean, that's most starting caliber guards and Pro Bowlers have rough days against them. So I'm not going to hold that against him. But think about when he filled in for Avila, when he's filled in for other players this season specifically, he's done a good job, in my opinion. And he played like a starting caliber guard, which is what you hope for when a backup has to fill in. And for that, again, that exclusive rights minimum deal, maybe $1 million, a no-brainer. And hey, he's a SoCal native, grew up out there in San Bernardino County, if my memory is correct. I may be wrong on that, but I think he'll want to be back. He ain't going to sit out for a year if the Rams do that on him. No-brainer, like you said, Mark. Center, guard, versatility. Yeah, bring him back. Not even a question.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Yeah, it is. And another controversial player for this team, Mark. We got tons of those type of guys. My goodness. Wide receiver / return man, Xavier Smith. So let me preface it by saying this. He is also an exclusive rights free agent. 29 years old, so he's pushing 30 soon. Still got speed. Still has talent. Obviously, we've seen it. But, man, the muffed kick, punt multiple times in the NFC Championship game. Rough way to end the season. Was a big reason why the Rams ended up losing that game. Wasn't the only reason. Obviously, defense got shredded by Sam Darnold. Ugh. But What would you do, Mark? And what do you think the Rams are going to do? Again, he is an exclusive rights free agent. Well, what do you think?
Man, I'm going to put him in that category. Oz Hakim, Pharaoh Cooper, Xavier Smith, three guys that were just really, really good at their job until one day. Until
Yeah.
one day, it all fell apart. I feel, on the one hand, I feel really bad for him because I've always felt so confident with him back there. And the Rams did as well. It was just really strange to see what happened to him in that game, but it really poisons things for him, right? I mean, I was getting texts from multiple people out during that game is that get that guy off this team now, today.
Yeah.
And if it weren't for that play, I'd say, yeah, bring him back. But, the Rams, with a new special teams coach, he's going to have a say in it, I think. But I don't know, man. It's going to be really hard for him to bounce back from that in a Rams uniform. So, his exclusive rights, though, uh, I don't know, man. I don't have a problem with them bringing him back. I just dread the thought of him in a playoff situation once again, fielding punts. That's gonna. I don't know, man. But the answer is yes, I would bring him back. But he's got some mental hurdles he's going to have to clear to get back in a good way with the Rams.
As I ponder objective thoughts on Xavier, right? I mean, look at the Rams clearly thought he was better than Tutu Atwell out there as a
Right.
vertical threat. And I thought he could play wide receiver too. Well, that's just the truth. He had some good moments. Could have had a game-winning touchdown against the Falcons if Stafford didn't whiff on that. Now, would Xavier have ran all the way in? I don't know, but he would have had a chance, at least kick a field goal there, right, to tie it, to send it to overtime. We know he can play. We know he's got versatility. The Rams trusted him to be the third wide receiver this year. Crazy. And then the punt return, kick return ability, more punt, obviously. But what would I do? Jeez Louise. For wide receiver versatility, I would bring him back because it's going to be maybe $1 million because he is an exclusive rights free agent. And I think the Rams are going to do that.
Yeah.
I hope we find a new punt returner that has more juice. And I think Xavier could be that guy. We've seen him perform well. We have. Now, maybe with Bubba Ventrone, the blocking and the production from all the other 10 guys on return stuff gets better, which will allow Xavier to use his speed more and look more explosive, possibly. So I think of that. And I think again of how the Rams viewed him as the wide receiver 3 this whole year. I think they're going to bring him back. And I would bring him back for his wide receiver backup ability, right? Rotating in if you need to. He's a capable guy. I would do that, but there's no doubt about it. If you are against that, if the Rams say, hey, man, that muff punts in the NFC Championship game, F that, we're done with you. Wouldn't be shocked about that either, but I think because that contract will be so dirt cheap, I would bring him back, and I think the Rams are too, Mark. Again, for the wide receiver capabilities.
Yeah, that makes sense. And if they do bring him back, it's just going to be he's just going to have to get over it, and Ram fans are going to have to get over it, get behind this guy in the punt return category if he's still the guy. The Rams have not emphasized the return game, which is kind of a bummer because Xavier, I think, has the ability to be a really good returner, but it just seems like the scheme, the blocking, whatever, it just hasn't worked. I can't remember the last time we had a really big time return, right?
Pharaoh Cooper before he had a shitty playoff performance,
Right.
right? Where he was a Pro Bowler, all pro guy. So, I mean, we'll see
Yeah.
what the heck happens.
Yeah, Xavier
We'll
had the
see.
one return against the 49ers that set up the win, one of those games. I forget what year that was. Recent
Last year.
history. Yeah. So he's got it in him, but it seems like the special teams the last year or two has just been, fair catch, 5-yard returns, that type of thing. Just not a lot of
Yeah.
electricity.
Not a lot. So we'll see what happens. But for that cheap $1 million price tag, I would bring him back, right, to be wide receiver 4 or 5. and then hopefully maybe return abilities improve above eventual. Maybe we'll see what happens. And another exclusive rights free agent, Mark, the thicker kicker, Harrison
Yeah.
Mevis. What would you do? What do you think the Rams are going to do with him?
Well, I don't think they have any choice to bring him back at this point. I haven't looked into the free agent market as far. I think I have actually, but I don't recall who's out there. And I could see the Rams making a move in free agency if they're not 100% behind Mevis. But at this point, yeah, bring him back. And worst case, he's competing for a roster spot with another kicker you bring in. I don't think they're not going to draft a kicker. Done with that. But yeah, bring him back.
I mean, guys, again, for the million or less price tag for a kicker that was incredibly reliable, hit long field goals, kicked game winners in playoff games, right? The Chicago was reliable at the end of the year, rocking number 92. It's just the thicker kicker, the name. Yeah, I got to bring him back for that price tag, for the swagger, for the aura of his name, for the belief and the good things Sean McVay has said about him. I don't think you could let him go. It just would be stupid. It would be stupid.
Yeah.
And I will bring him back too, of course.
Yeah.
But man,
agreed.
everyone, what a giant list that was, wasn't it? As here you go, one more time for you. If you're on YouTube, you can see the full list here. All the players, their type of free agency classification, unrestricted, restricted, exclusive rights, the amount of snaps they play, the percentage of how much they played for their respective side of the ball, right? Offense, defense, et cetera, et cetera. And then how old they are, right? We got some guys that are in the 30s, some guys in the late 20s, but pretty much everyone is an older player, Mark, other than the thicker kicker. He's the youngest guy on this list at 24 at the moment.
Yeah, I think we just spent about $30 million of Stan Kroenke's money. Hopefully he's okay with that.
Hey, I thought the guys we would have liked back made sense.
Yeah,
and
right.
Again, a lot of this will be dictated by what the Rams decide to do with free agent targets that aren't already, on this team. And if trades happen, et cetera, that'll dictate a lot of what happens to these guys returning to this team or not. But man,
yeah, the two big ones for me are Curl and McCreary. Let's see what they do with them. That'll be really interesting.
Yeah, out of the unrestricted guys, I agree with that.
Right.
That would be priority. Would be Curl, McCreary for the secondary, Akello for the right price again, and then hopefully Higbee gets offered, and we'll see if Jimmy gets poached, or any of these guys really get poached to Arizona with Mike LaFleur, which I think majority of these players, again, I'm going to say it one more time for you, a lot of them will get offered to come over with Mike LaFleur, I feel, which seems to be the case when anytime coaches go to their new spots to lead their organization, they're going to hire guys that have been around and know what's up. And that's always the case, no matter Rams or not. Right, Mark?
Be the Rams JV over there in Arizona.
Yeah, the desert Rams. Yeah, I feel you. So we'll see what happens, Mark. Right? I mean, a lot to go down, as we pointed out earlier. Everyone, free agency is not that far away, right? I mean, before we blink, what is it? The early window, the negotiating window, they call it. There's a bunch of different names where you get all the news of, so-and-so agreed with so-and-so, or let's just make up a scenario here. Rams agree with this player to this contract, and, it's not official until Monday, but everything's set in stone, which is always kind of weird in my opinion. It's like, hey, this is actually the beginning of free agency. Why are we delaying it till Monday if all this is kind of unfolding? It's kind of how that works, right? But that's coming up soon.
Yeah, it just occurred to me I'm going to have to take leave that day. There's going to be a lot going on for our Rams, I think, that Monday, Tuesday.
I think so too. And there's been times in the past where the Rams weren't as active and we're left feeling a little meh. Right? We wanted more meat on the bone, and there's been in years past where it was like, oh, Devontae Adams, Puno Ford, wow, like last year and other years, of course, and trades and etc. And it feels like this year's, going to be one of those years or
Yeah,
is
there
action?
are years where you get your best values. They say you get your best value if you sit out the first week and see who falls through, and let some other teams go out and spend big money on big time players and just kind of bide your time. But I think the Rams, if they have their eye on a cornerback or two, they're going to be all in pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, and then look at everyone. Free agencies, unofficially, officially starts March 9th. March 11th would be the real day. Um, but we'll have tons of content before then, right? Who should the Rams target? Free agency trades, linebackers, wide receivers, tight end. Well, we'll go through the list of everyone that is available, right? Of all the premium positions that the Rams usually target and maybe should target. Let's just say all of these free agents we talked about today leave, and the Rams got to bring in new guys and ignoring the draft at the moment. We'll go through that. Definitely me and Mark will have tons of content leading up to that, that end of February/beginning of March date where things get real, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have some free agency content coming down the pipe. Scott's going to be on with me Saturday, taking a look at cornerbacks. That's what everybody wants to hear about right now. Try to. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of free agent cornerbacks, and it's going to be crazy. I think in the cornerback market come that Monday morning.
Yep. And then, hey, I'll be watching film on all these guys. That'll dictate my opinion solely, truthfully. How did they play this last year? What does the all 22 angles and coaches film look like for these guys? So I'll be studying that over the weekend for sure and throughout this week as well. And safeties, corners, wide receivers, tight ends, inside linebackers, D linemen, edge rushers. I'm going to go through the list of who's available and start watching film. And I'll have some more gray in my hair because of all that, but that's okay. It's all for you guys and for informing the fan base, and we'll do that for sure. Tune into that with Mark and Scott on the weekend coming up, everyone. And me and Mark will get together too, and we'll have a concrete idea before free agency on all those position groups as well. But hey, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We appreciate you hanging out with us on this long list of 2026 free agents for the Rams. Some pretty easy decisions, some debatable, some I'm sure you hope to see back, some I'm sure you hope to never see in horns again. And we all have plenty of those guys that we can name off the top of our heads, right, Mark?
Absolutely. I got some guys in mind, but I'm going to save it for another day.
Yep, that's fair. And plenty of content, everyone. Hey, if you're on YouTube hanging out with us, we appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Like any video you enjoy from our content here on this channel. We appreciate it. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss those videos that are coming up. And if you're on the audio only and or podcast only side of things, share it all, everyone. Share it with your Rams fans. Helps the algorithms out for a podcast for YouTube, and it helps other Rams fans see our content. And we're only trying to get this fan base on board and explode in the LA area, in the California, in the Americas, across the world, Australia, Japan, Mexico, everywhere. And thanks for that. And thanks for tuning in, right, Mark?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. So no matter where you are, rep your blue and yellow, rep it proud, rep it loud, and always throw up the horns. Go Rams, baby.